speaker today is Vishal Gannarawala, Senior Director for Citrix Workspace Services. Before we get started, let me cover a couple of housekeeping details. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of today's presentation and invite you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the Ask a Question window in the webinar interface. Also, this event is being recorded, and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email. With that, I will now hand it over to Vishal to start the presentation. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Linda. So I'm really excited today to talk about this topic. I think we have been having this conversation around digital transformation with lots of our customers. Now, a lot of our customers are embarking this journey because they are looking at some of their business initiatives, whether it's M&A agility, flexible workspaces, getting better talent retention, or talent acquisition plans. They all tie into their digital transformation journey. So let's take a look at what our customers have been doing and the feedback we have been getting from some of our customers. As you can see, our customers are evolving. Our customers are telling us about the trends that are driving them. So last summer, we had a panel of customers and we ran surveys with a large number of Citrix customers, asking them about their key trends, challenges, and opportunities as they evolve their businesses. Here's 3 things we learned from them. Work is happening everywhere. Cloud is really taking off. The questions which we used to get on whether the cloud is the right strategy for me or not is changing to how can I get to the cloud? And then digital transformation is really driving increased productivity. In fact, 2/3 of our customers reported that remote working is now a way of life for their organization. 85% already have a multi-cloud strategy. And 50% completely flexible work style is driving a significant increase in productivity. So big numbers. So what does that mean? Especially for our XenApp and Zen Desktop customers. I know you have been delivering Windows apps to any device, anywhere, with the help of XenApp and Zen Desktop. But apps have changed, devices have changed, and the locations where you host these workloads have changed. So let's take a step back and take a look at how things have changed. We used to have this PC-centric workplace where we had mostly apps which were Windows-based, and the desktop under our desk used to be mostly Windows. And we all cared about this one device, which used to be probably our corporate device, whether it's a corporate-issued managed laptop or the PC. And almost all our data was inside data centers. And, things have changed in the last 10 years. And when we fast forward and look at what's going on, things are far more complex. We all use cloud apps, whether they are Concur, Workday, Box, or something else. We have all apps. We still have Windows apps. They didn't go away. We have SAP, Oracle, and other Windows apps. They're still there. We are just adding new kinds of apps. And to top all those things, we also deal with mobile apps. Now, on the devices front, obviously, we all have multiple devices with us, from maybe it's an iPhone or an Android phone, and there's a tablet, laptop, PCs, smartwatches, everything. And these devices and apps are only going to get more and more complex. If you look at what's changing these days, it's from the voice for business, Alexa from Amazon, Siri from Apple. They're all coming into enterprises in our near future. And the location of our data, where all our data used to be in data center, is now in public clouds like Azure Amazon, Google. Maybe they're stored on HCI appliances in our data centers. But we are only adding things here. Things haven't really gotten off our plate. So IT is in a pretty tough spot. I mean, you were managing things already from a Windows World perspective, but then things got added more and more. So how do we solve all these challenges together? So let's start tackling one thing at a time and see what this potential solutions could be here. So let's talk about changes in the device management and how the world's changed when we look at some of the devices. And when we look at what happened in the device management world, we had the traditional management tools, which will manage your Windows 10 clients and maybe even Macs. But then the MDM vendors, or the mobile device management vendors, managed iOS devices and Android devices. And there is always this pull between the traditional management people in IT and the mobile device management. And with the fragmentation of these teams, it creates a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration, even just within IT. Customers tell us that they struggle with answering basic questions about their computing environment because of this fragmentations. Questions like, how many users have used a specific app in past 30 days? These are really hard to answer because these systems are managed differently. If the same app is a mobile app and a traditional app, then the answer is in two different places. And so the way industry really evolved last couple of years is converging these two management systems into just one management system, and which is called essentially unified endpoint management. Now, unified endpoint management was only possible because even your traditional operating systems like Windows 10 and Mac have opened up APIs and they behave more like mobile operating systems. Now, for the first time ever, you can truly manage Windows 10 or Mac just like a mobile device. You can update the operating systems, you can patch, you can restrict policies and applications on those devices, just how you would do for traditional mobile devices. So unified endpoint management is really, really important if you're looking to solve that complexity. Let's look at deeper dive into what other features are really important to have unified endpoint management successful. So traditionally, what you would do in your Windows and Mac world is endpoint provisioning and configuration. As soon as someone got a new laptop, IT would image those laptops and install softwares which were needed for those particular users. Now you can do the same things on all devices using unified endpoint management systems. You can secure those devices. If those devices are lost, you can wipe them off. You can obviously update operating systems. You can even do app management and distribution. So essentially, if you wanted to push down a new app on those devices, you can do it now in a more consistent fashion. And each of those applications need application configurations. And you can even apply these application configurations to all your apps. It doesn't matter which operating systems these apps are on. And from a Citrix perspective, the Citrix Workspace Unified Endpoint Management does all those things and more. We have our own secure productivity apps from email and browser. We have client management tools. We have containment tools which will secure and encrypt your data. The mobile app management goes way beyond mobile device management, but also wraps your applications. Your mobile applications, which you may have developed in-house and want to deliver to these endpoint devices, or these mobile applications which you get from most popular ISVs and want to secure and deliver them on the mobile devices. And we also include very, very powerful identity and access management systems in our workspace media. I'll talk about it a little later. So next, let's take a look at the infrastructure and explore some of the changes happen to us. So when I said the world's changing, it's truly changing in a way where we have our data now in multiple places. In fact, I bet most of you have data in most of these places because most of our customers are telling us they have data in Amazon, Azure, Google. They're obviously using one of the hyper-converged infrastructures on-prem or the hypervisors. So instead of simplifying things, they're again adding more and more things which they now have to manage. IT needs a much, much simpler way to manage these different locations where their data is residing, their workloads are residing. They need a control plane which works across all these different systems. Luckily, we have thought about those things, and Pacific's cloud contains a control plane which delivers this unified cloud architecture. Now, your workloads can be in any of these clouds, and even on-prem or on HCI system or virtualized systems. Citrix Cloud can manage your data and your workloads in a hybrid fashion, or in all public clouds, or if your data is just on the data center in a private cloud. To solve this complexity, so far we have established that you need a management system for your devices, a unified cloud architecture, but the most important thing, apps. What about apps? And how are apps different now? Let's take a look. So before we move forward, I'd like to have all of you think about Office as an application. What do you guys think? Is Office a cloud app, a mobile app, or a traditional app? Now, some of you may be thinking the answer is either one of these things, but the fact is Office is everything. And we have to protect and deliver Office across all these platforms in a secure way. So if you were a XenApps and Desktop customer, here's what we have done traditionally. We have successfully delivered Windows apps to any device, anywhere. But apps have evolved. So are we leaving some of these things unanswered? And some of the most important questions we have to look at and answer is what are we doing to unify policies across all apps? Are we only securing Windows apps? Are we leaving security holes in our strategy? If you're an IT admin or a high-level person listening right now in an IT, this is the new IT reality. So what we really need is a common policy framework, a framework for all our apps. Because there are no more mobile apps, no more SaaS apps, no more Windows apps. And we have to change our thinking. An app is an app is an app. And if you are thinking Office is a unique kind of app, then I challenge that thinking as well. Because we believe all modern apps are multi-platform apps. Whether it's Concur, Workday, Salesforce, Tableau, Slack, anywhere. So we need a new strategy. We all need to think about protecting and delivering all our apps. We need to be thinking about all our devices and thinking about a unified cloud architecture. But some of you may ask, what about identity and access management? Because identity is the new perimeter from a security standpoint of view. We used to have Active Directory as the king of identity, and since most of these apps were in the data center. But now when we look in the modern systems, we have SaaS apps, we have VDI and mobile apps, and we obviously have our internal or external web apps, and we still have our good old client-server apps, which may be depending on the passwords or form-based applications. Now, Citrix provides, through NetScaler and our networking technologies, this one URL and one way to access all your apps in a single sign-on or multi-factor authentication fashion. So let's take a look at how we do those things. Citrix actually has a really, really powerful identity and access management solution in form of NetScaler. NetScaler can handle any complex access management use cases. It can obviously support your adaptive multi-factor authentication for handling users' authentication. And this infrastructure can provide policy-driven authentication modules, which provide high degree of flexibility and the capability to consolidate user authentication for multiple user categories using a single URL. Now, when we look at NetScaler, it obviously supports smart cards and CAC cards, and we have recently added the native OTP capabilities, or which is the one-time password capabilities, to NetScaler. And NetScaler can integrate with all your on-prem apps and can do a single sign-on and can provide you single sign-on capabilities to all your on-prem applications, whether they are using form-based SSO, whether they're using Kerberos or KCD, SAML, or the Windows-based basic digest or NTLM authentication. On the single sign-on side, NetScaler is much more powerful than the cloud-based single sign-on solutions. I mean, the cloud-based single sign-on solutions in the market today, they only provide single sign-on to your SaaS applications or cloud applications. If you have on-prem presence and legacy apps that don't support SAML or cloud SSO, these cloud-based single sign-on solutions won't be any good. NetScaler can support both the cloud-based solutions as well as your legacy apps and legacy authentication protocols. And it can help you integrate all your commonly used cloud IDP solutions. So if you're thinking of migrating your user's identity to any cloud, Citrix can help you with this migration as well. And then similarly, NetScaler can also integrate and act as an IDP itself for all your commonly used SaaS apps. Customers can retain their identity on-prem, but still extend their app footprint in the cloud using NetScaler. Now, some of our customers are asking us about the consequences of not doing anything and maintaining a status quo. And so these are the companies who will see a much decreased user experience. The risk to their business will keep increasing because of multiple devices, multiple clouds, multiple identity systems. And then the complexity in the IT will continue to rise. Now, some of you may have tried solving this using point solutions. But even the point solutions add to complexity and increased cost. And if you have some or all of these solutions right now in your data centers, you know the challenges about integrating everything together. These systems don't talk to each other, and the data exchange is complicated. The API integration is complicated. So in the end, we need a much better systems. We need a new strategy. And so we not only need unified endpoint management, which some vendors will come and tell you that you can solve all this complexity just by doing unified endpoint management. I would say you need a unified cloud architecture, you need a unified application architecture, and you need a unified workspace management. In fact, that's how our worldview is. And when we think about how we think about future work and how to solve these challenges, we put user at center of everything. Because when you put user at the center of everything, things become much easier. Because there's, in future, only one device will matter, which is you or the user. Work will occur everywhere where the user is. Whether they are on the laptop, on a corporate network or a smartphone, or on the road, gaining insights through wearables or connected conference rooms or hospitals. Whether the users or the customers are at patient sites or other side of the town, or even the other side of the globe. Work happens where the user is. And that's why we put user at the center. And when you put user at the center of everything, you will see that the employee engagement and productivity will increase. The user needs this digital workspace, which is context-aware, reliable, intelligent, enough to offer the right access, the right insights, the right performance to get the job done, even when they're on the go. Now, we offer this as a solution, and our solution is Citrix Workspace. We offer this unified experience to the end users on one hand, and simplified control to IT on the other hand. The solution can help you tame complexity for all your apps, all your devices, whether they, and it doesn't matter where these apps and workloads reside. The user gets this unified access and reliable performance across all your apps on all their devices. And it doesn't matter what kind of apps they're using. And it's the contextual performance just means the performance varies depending on the kind of device they're using and the kind of network they are on. I'll just give you a very quick example here. If your users are accessing applications in their offices connected to a high-speed internet, we will make sure we can even offload some of these things to those devices if those devices are capable of offloading some of those video data or high graphic intensive data. And then when the same user is on their mobile devices connected to maybe 4G networks and not enough bandwidth or latency, then we should be able to change the performance of the application. But in the end, always make sure the user is productive on the go. And then the experience needs to be unified, whether the user is in the coffee center, or they're at work, or they're on the go. Now let's take a look at the benefits to the IT. Now you as an IT admin will receive this unified endpoint management, which I described earlier, to manage all your devices, including Windows, Mac, and even Chrome devices. You will get application performance across all applications and the same way of onboarding all your apps and the same way of assigning these applications to all your users. You will have complete control over your data through our solution share file. You'll be able to audit who's sharing which files and when, and apply to all your compliance laws. You will get the agility to change and say yes to new business applications and bring them on board. And here's a quick look at the unified admin experience through Citrix Cloud. And these services can be added in a Lego-like fashion. You can start with one of the services, and you can keep adding other services as you go along. Here's a little bit more deeper dive on the Citrix Workspace architecture. The user gets all the unified experience across all devices. They can bring in any identity they want. And of course, they will get the single sign-on experience which they desire. And we will make sure that they get the contextual access depending on whether the device was managed or unmanaged, and performance based on location, the device type, the network type. And on the IT end, all the benefits across unified endpoint management, app ops, content control, all wrapped nicely with a secure digital parameter provided through NetScaler. Here's another way of looking at the same architecture. All your Citrix services are included as part of the Workspace and Citrix Cloud. You can start with one of these services, and you can add each one of them as you go along. Complexity is really hard to tame, but it's also where Citrix can help. You can really arrange and start your projects depending on where you are on this journey. On one side, IT needs to manage all these devices and control the policies for access. You need to manage all your apps and need to modernize them. We know that app modernization is one of the biggest hurdles that IT organizations is facing today. You also need to have this full visibility, and that is the way to turn your company into a more intelligent organization. For end users or people at work, the most important thing is the unified experience, enabling them to access their workspaces. It needs to be familiar and fluid. From the moment they get into Workspace, they need to feel like they have access to everything that they need to be productive. Now, some of you have always asked, I'm a XenApp and XenDesktop customers. How do I get started on this digital transformation journey? Or I'm on using one of the Zen Mobile mobility products, Zen Mobile. How do I get to this digital workspace or Citrix workspace? Well, the answer is, as the webinar indicated, you are much farther along than you actually think. Since the workspace is an integration of all your apps, devices, services in a more unified, secure fashion, you have already started that journey with the help of XenApp, XenDesktop, or just Zen Mobile or ShareFile. All you have to do is connect the dots and put them together in a Lego-like fashion again. You can complete this puzzle by adding more services to your portfolio. You can start a data project and solve your enterprise file sync and share thing on top of XenApp and XenDesktop. Or you can start with a unified endpoint management project using Zen Mobile services. Or you can start with analytics, identity, and security management through NetScaler services. Our services come pre-integrated in the cloud, so you don't have to do the hard work. When you move to Citrix Cloud and cloud services model, you will gain the efficiency and productivity, and even in IT, which you're looking for. You will be able to focus on your business needs versus the infrastructure. And here's what some of the results our Citrix customers are seeing. They're seeing much better results across all the three things they're looking at: security and compliance, cost and efficiency, and employee productivity. In fact, 2 out of 3 customers now view Citrix vital to their security infrastructure. 54% have seen of IT has seen reduction in IT devices because they're now using Citrix. And 82% are seeing increased productivity when using Citrix Workspace. In the end, it's really important to think that it's not about the workloads. It's about the people. And when IT says yes to apps, yes to people, yes to devices, you will get a much happier end user base, and you will be able to achieve your business priorities faster. With that, I invite you to take a look at the workspaces of the future with Citrix by visiting citrix.com/workspace. From my end, Linda, that's about it for this webinar.
Thank you, Vishal. Now as we move into Q&A, I'd like to remind our audience that if you have a question, please submit it in the Ask a Question area on your screen. Simply type your question into the text box and then hit Submit. We've had some questions come in throughout the webinar, which we'll start addressing now. So Vishal, our first question is, do I need to use all Citrix Cloud services, or can I operate in a hybrid model? For example, keep my XenApp and XenDesktop on-prem.
So absolutely. So thank you. That's a great question and something I didn't address in the webinar. So absolutely, if you're an on-prem XenApp and XenDesktop customer, you can continue to use your on-prem environment and start with a cloud service. And we will make sure we still provide you this integrated workspace experience, both for your end users and from an IT perspective, you will absolutely start to see the performance gains and security needs you need.
Great, thank you. The next question is, does the Citrix Workspace integrate with Azure AD?
Again, great question on the identity and access management front. So Azure AD, from an identity perspective, is something we hear from a lot of customers moving their Office 365 or when they're embarking their Microsoft 365 journey. Azure AD is becoming really, really important. And we have made sure we treat Azure AD as a first-class citizen in Citrix Cloud and have this native integration with Azure AD. So if you are a customer who have moved your identities and authentications all to Azure AD, you can be rest assured we support all those things natively through Citrix Cloud Services.
Okay, thank you. Next person currently has XenApp. What would you recommend their first step be for upgrading to Citrix Workspace?
So the first step to upgrading to Citrix Workspace would be to look at some of the IT priorities and business priorities within the organization. And I would say if the business priorities are more aligned towards enterprise file sync solutions, I would say get started with ShareFile. I mean, obviously, from XenApp and XenDesktop perspective, first, the customers, we have amazing programs, trade-up programs to get our XenApp, XenDesktop customers to Citrix Workspace portfolio. And within the Citrix Workspace, you can get really easily started with projects like ShareFile and enterprise file sync and sync to provide secure data, content collaboration across all your employees and users. And then they can embark their journey on mobile device management. It all depends in the end which projects are the most important projects in IT to take. But from a workspace perspective, the Citrix Workspace services are pre-integrated in Citrix Cloud. So once you do a trader programs to the workspace, you can get started on any of these services.
So thank you. That's actually a good segue to the next question. Well, two that are related. One, is Citrix Workspace premium service available now? And then how does pricing and or promotion for that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So Citrix Workspace premium service, which has all the capabilities I talked during the webinar, and it's actually available today. And you can go to www.citrix.com/products/citrix-cloud/subscriptions.html to get a list of all the subscriptions and services, and pricing information, information on how to try and everything else.
Okay, great. And then is the functionality of Citrix Workspace different based on the cloud provider I choose?
So, good question again. No. The functionality of Citrix Workspace is independent of the cloud provider you choose, whether if the workloads are on Azure or workloads are on Amazon Cloud. You can have workloads anywhere, and we'll make sure our control plane functioning exact same way as it's supposed to, and provide you with all your apps and data needs.
Okay, thank you. And we have one last question, and that is, how can I get a demo of Citrix Workspace?
So it's easy. You can go to www.citrix.com/events to sign up, or contact your sales rep for a one-on-one demo.
Well, thank you, Vishal. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you to our audience and to Vishal for a very informative presentation. And thanks to all for joining us. For a quick reminder, you can check out and register upcoming webinars and events, and also register for that weekly Deminar that Vishal mentioned at citrix.com/events. We hope you have a great day.